Captain Eli Ward opened his eyes to a cold blue light. His head throbbed, and the metallic taste of blood filled his mouth. He tried to move, but his arms were bound by strange glowing restraints that hummed with energy. The floor beneath him was smooth like glass, and the air smelled faintly of ozone and metal. He was alive, but not free. The last thing he remembered was the explosion near the command post on Vega 9. His squad had been ambushed by the Sirens, the alien empire that had crushed dozens of human colonies. He remembered shouting, running, and then a flash of light. Now he was here, a prisoner deep within the enemy's heart. A door hissed open in front of him and 3 guards entered. Their armor was made of black crystal, their faces hidden by smooth masks. One of them spoke in a low mechanical tone. "The princess wishes to see you." Eli frowned. "The princess?" Before he could say anything more, the guards lifted him roughly by the arms and pushed him through the doorway. The corridors beyond were filled with soft light, the walls transparent like flowing glass. Strange alien creatures floated behind them. Servants, maybe, staring at him with wide, fearful eyes. After several turns, the guards stopped at an enormous chamber. The air shimmered, and golden light poured from above. At the center of the room stood a woman. No, something more than a woman. She was tall and slender, her skin like liquid silver, shimmering as she moved. Her long hair floated as if in water, glowing faintly with soft blue light. Her eyes were unlike anything Eli had ever seen. Pale, almost white, yet filled with depth and sadness. When she turned to face him, even the guards bowed. Eli just stared, caught between awe and disbelief. The princess stepped closer, her voice smooth and clear, yet strangely gentle. "You are human," she said, as if speaking to a ghost. Eli swallowed hard. "That's right. Captain Eli Ward, United Earth Forces." Her eyes studied him carefully, scanning the bruises, the burns, the exhaustion in his face. "You fought against us. I fought to survive," he said quietly. She tilted her head slightly. "And now you are here, a prisoner. Tell me, do you still wish to fight?" Eli gave a small, tired smile. "If I thought it would change anything, maybe. But right now I just want to understand why I'm still alive." The princess looked down for a moment, her silver hair falling across her face. "Because I asked them not to kill you," he blinked. "You did?" "Yes," she said softly. "I wanted to see what kind of creature keeps standing even when the universe tells him to fall." Her words struck something deep inside him. For a long moment there was silence. Only the hum of the alien lights filled the air. Eli looked around the shining chamber and then back at her. "So what happens now? Are you here to interrogate me?" Her expression changed slightly, almost a hint of sorrow. "No, I am here to understand you." She turned away and walked to a large window that opened to a breathtaking view. The city beyond glittered like starlight on water, towers of crystal, floating platforms, and ships that glided through the air like silver birds. "My world," she said quietly, "is dying in a war that never ends. Both our races keep fighting, but no one remembers why anymore." Eli stepped closer, his chains rattling softly. "That's something humans understand too well." The princess looked at him again, her glowing eyes searching his. "Perhaps that is why I wanted to meet you, Captain Eli, to see if there is something in you that my people have forgotten." He met her gaze and said quietly, "Maybe there is. Maybe we've just forgotten it too." A faint smile touched her lips, the first he had seen. "Then perhaps we can remind each other." The guards glanced at one another in confusion, but the princess lifted a hand, dismissing them. The door closed, leaving the two alone in the glowing silence. And for the first time in his life, Eli Ward, the human soldier, felt that the real battle was not between empires or armies. It was between hearts trying to understand each other in a galaxy that had forgotten how. Days slowly turned into weeks. Captain Eli Ward remained a prisoner in the Great Glass Palace, but his cell was unlike any prison he had ever known. It was bright, silent, and strangely peaceful. The walls shimmered like water, and every sound seemed soft, almost kind. Every evening, the door would open quietly, and Princess Liara would step inside. She always came alone, without guards, carrying a small glowing sphere that filled the room with gentle light. At first, Eli thought she only came to study him. But over time, he realized something deeper. She was lonely. Their talks began carefully, like a fragile bridge between two broken worlds. Liara asked about Earth, about the blue skies, the oceans and the people who sang even in war. Eli tried his best to describe it, though his voice sometimes trembled when he remembered home. He spoke of green forests, rain that smelled like life, and the warmth of sunlight on his face. Her eyes always softened when he spoke of those things. "Your world sounds alive," she said once, her voice quiet. "It is," Eli answered. "Even when it hurts, it still keeps breathing. That's what makes it beautiful." Liara looked down at her glowing hands. "My world was alive once too. Before the war, before my people learned to build machines that could destroy entire suns." Eli could hear the pain in her words. For the first time, he didn't see her as an alien princess, but as someone who carried the same scars he did, just in a different shape. One evening, she came earlier than usual. Eli was sitting on the floor, tracing a small crack in the wall with his finger. She stood by the barrier that separated them and watched him quietly. "Do you hate us?" she asked suddenly. Eli looked up, surprised by the question. "I don't know," he said after a pause. "I hate what happened. I hate that we both lost so much. But hate, it doesn't fix anything. It just keeps the pain alive." Liara stepped closer to the barrier. The faint blue light between them glowed softly. "My people say humans are dangerous, violent, filled with chaos." Eli smiled faintly. "They're not wrong." She blinked, confused. "Then why are you smiling?" "Because we're also kind," he said gently. "We're messy and loud and stupid sometimes, but we love. We care. And when everything falls apart, we still get up. Maybe that's why you haven't destroyed us completely." Liara's lips curved into the smallest smile. "Maybe." She sat down on the other side of the barrier, mirroring his position. For a long while, they didn't speak. They just sat there, two souls from opposite sides of a galaxy, listening to the quiet hum of the lights. Finally, she said softly, "When I was a child, I thought my people were perfect. We could create anything, control anything. But now I see that perfection is empty." Eli nodded slowly. "Perfection doesn't teach you how to feel. Struggle does." She looked at him thoughtfully. "You sound like someone who has suffered much." He gave a small laugh. "Every soldier has. But you learn something through it, that pain doesn't make you weaker. It reminds you that you're still alive." Liara's eyes shimmered faintly, reflecting the soft blue light. "Maybe that's what makes you human," she whispered. "You turn pain into strength." He looked at her for a moment, his chest tightening. "And maybe that's what makes you different, princess. You turn power into kindness." Their eyes met through the glowing barrier. For the first time, neither of them looked away. Liara stood slowly. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "I will take you outside your cell. There are things I want you to see. Perhaps then you will understand my world better." Eli rose too, wincing slightly from his old wounds. "And maybe you'll understand mine." As she turned to leave, the light followed her like silver wind. Eli watched her go, a quiet warmth growing inside him. For the first time since the war began, he felt something he thought he had lost forever: hope. The next morning, the door of Eli's cell opened quietly. For the first time, there were no guards, no weapons, only Princess Liara, dressed in a soft silver gown that shimmered with light. "You're taking me outside?" Eli asked cautiously. She nodded. "You've been a prisoner long enough. I want to show you something." Eli followed her through the shining corridors. Everything around him felt unreal. The walls pulsed with faint light, and the floor reflected the stars as if he was walking on the night sky itself. He had seen alien technology before, but nothing like this. It was beautiful, but in a cold, lonely way. They reached a tall doorway that opened into a wide balcony overlooking the Xeran capital. The view made Eli stop in awe. The city stretched far beyond what his eyes could see. Towers of crystal rose into clouds of soft blue mist. Floating bridges linked them together, and streams of glowing energy flowed like rivers through the air. Above, massive ships glided silently between the twin suns that hung in the distance. Liara turned to him and asked, "What do you see, Captain?" Eli looked at the city and said slowly, "I see power, but I also see sadness. Everything looks perfect, but it feels empty." She didn't answer at first. Her gaze drifted to the horizon, where the suns cast long golden lines across the city. "It is empty," she whispered. "My people have everything they could ever build." "Except peace," Eli's voice softened. "You sound like someone who's tired of winning." Liara turned to him, her silver eyes glimmering. "And you sound like someone who's tired of losing." He gave a quiet smile. Maybe we're both right. For a long moment they stood side by side in silence. The wind brushed through her hair, sending strands of light across her face. Eli couldn't look away. There was something about her presence, a strange calm mixed with quiet sorrow, that made his heart ache in a way he couldn't explain. They walked further into the royal gardens. It was like stepping into another world. Flowers of pure light bloomed in the air, their petals glowing softly. Small orbs floated between the trees, humming like distant music. It was breathtaking, but something about it felt artificial, too perfect to be alive. Liara watched him closely. "Do you like it?" she asked. Eli nodded slowly. "It's beautiful, but it feels lonely." Her expression changed. "Lonely?" He met her gaze. "Yes, everything here shines, but it doesn't feel warm. It's like the stars, bright but far away." Liara looked down, her voice quiet. "You see more than most of my people." "Maybe I just know what loneliness looks like," Eli replied softly. For a moment, neither spoke. The gentle hum of the garden surrounded them. Then Liara whispered, "My people believe emotions are weakness. We are taught to control everything, to never let our hearts guide us. But when I speak to you, I feel something I cannot explain. It frightens me." Eli smiled faintly. "It shouldn't frighten you. Feeling something just means you're alive." Her eyes lifted to his, shining with curiosity and a strange tenderness. "Humans, you always speak of the heart as if it is your greatest weapon." He chuckled. "Maybe it is. We've lost countless wars, but somehow we always find a way to stand again. Not because we're strong, but because we care. That's what keeps us fighting." Liara's gaze lingered on him. There was admiration in her eyes, but also confusion. "You make it sound so simple," she whispered. "It is simple," Eli said softly. "But it's never easy." As they continued walking, she stopped near a small crystal pool. The water reflected the twin suns, and when she looked down, her own reflection shimmered like starlight. "Sometimes," she said, "I wish I could see the world the way you do, with hope even in the dark." Eli stepped beside her. "Hope isn't about light or dark. It's about not giving up, even when everything around you tells you to." Liara turned her head, her voice barely a whisper. "You make me wonder what kind of world could exist if our hearts were not enemies." He looked at her and said quietly, "Maybe that world starts right here." For the first time, the princess smiled genuinely, softly, and in that moment, under the alien suns, something invisible began to grow between them. Not a treaty. Not an alliance, something far more powerful. Understanding. That night, the palace was quiet. The corridors glowed with soft blue light, and even the hum of the energy walls seemed gentle, as if the entire place held its breath. Eli sat in his cell, but tonight, unlike other nights, he didn't feel like a prisoner. Something had changed after their walk through the gardens. The door opened quietly. Liara stepped in, her silver gown glowing faintly in the soft light. She moved closer than ever before without hesitation, her eyes reflecting the twin moons outside. "You came earlier tonight," Eli said, his voice low. "I wanted to see you," she said softly. "There are things I want to say. Things I cannot say in front of the guards." Eli nodded, feeling the tension in his chest tighten. He had been trying for days to find the right words, but every time he looked at her, they failed him. Her presence was overwhelming, graceful, terrifying, beautiful. Liara stepped closer, stopping just a few feet from him. The glow from her skin reflected on the floor, casting soft shadows that danced around him. He could feel her energy, powerful, calm, alive, and for the first time he realized how much he wanted to reach for her. "I don't know if it's right," he began, his throat dry, "to say what I feel. Maybe I shouldn't even think it, but I have to." Liara tilted her head, curiosity and something warmer flickering in her glowing eyes. "Say it, human." He swallowed hard, heart hammering in his chest. He took a shaky breath and let the words fall. "You're so beautiful that I can't even speak." The moment the words left his mouth, Liara froze. Her eyes widened and her lips parted slightly in surprise. She had never heard such words, not as a princess, not as a symbol of her people. No one had ever seen her like a person before. Eli's chest tightened. I mean, I'm not just saying that about your skin or your eyes or the way you shine. I mean, you. The way you stand, the way you care, the way you see the world, it's incredible." Liara's gaze softened, her shoulders trembling slightly as if a weight she hadn't known she carried had shifted. No one has ever spoken to me like that," she whispered. Eli took a cautious step closer, though the restraint still glowed faintly around his wrists. "Then maybe. I'm glad I was the first." Her eyes shimmered, not just with surprise but something deeper. Curiosity, warmth, and a kind of longing she had buried beneath her duties for years. You don't fear me?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Eli shook his head. "I've seen enough to know that fear doesn't build anything. But understanding, connection, that's what makes us strong." Liara looked down, her hair floating gently in the soft light. "You humans, you always see strength in ways we cannot. And you, Princess," Eli said softly, "see beauty in ways most of your people cannot. That's why I can't stop thinking about you." For a long moment there was silence. Only the soft hum of the palace filled the air. Then Liara took a deep breath, her glowing hands clasped together. Perhaps this is the first time I've truly felt seen," she whispered. "And I do not know what to do with it." Eli smiled faintly, pain and hope mingling in his voice. "Then let us figure it out together." For the first time since the war had begun, the distance between human and alien, prisoner and princess, seemed to vanish. The glow of her skin and the warmth of his heart met in that quiet room, and for a moment, the galaxy outside could not touch them. Something unspoken, powerful, and dangerous had begun. An invisible bond that neither weapons nor empires could break. And in the silence, both of them knew one truth. Some things were stronger than war. Some things were stronger than fear. Some things were called the heart. The next morning, the palace felt colder than usual. The soft glow of the walls seemed harsher, sharper. Eli noticed the guards moving faster, their crystal armor reflecting more light than before. A whisper traveled through the corridors, a warning, a rumor that sent chills through him. Liara's expression was tense as she approached his cell. "Captain," she said, her voice unusually low. "They know. The council. They know about us." Eli's stomach tightened. "Know what?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting both fear and determination. "About you, about us. They say it is betrayal, that I have allowed a human to corrupt me." Eli ran a hand through his hair, his heart pounding. "And that means, it means," she whispered, "they will not let you live." The words hit him harder than any blow he had ever taken in battle. Not because he feared death, but because he had never felt so connected to anyone before. Liara's gaze met his, and he saw the same fear mirrored in her eyes. "We have to move," she said, suddenly resolute, "before they decide they do not care about your life or mine." Eli nodded, swallowing the fear that gripped him. "Then tell me what to do." Liara touched the glowing barrier lightly. "I can open it, but only for a short time. The energy is unstable. If we are caught—" She didn't finish the sentence. The implication was clear. Death. The princess walked forward and pressed her hands against the force field. Sparks of silver light danced across the walls. Eli felt a strange warmth as the barrier fizzled and disappeared, leaving him free for the first time in weeks. "Come," Liara urged, her voice steady now, masking the fear beneath. They ran through the palace, dodging guards who had begun to notice the escape. Blasts of energy streaked past, cutting through walls and floors, but Eli followed her instinctively. Every step he took, he shielded her, taking blows that would have killed him days ago. Pain sharpened his senses, but it could not break his focus. Liara had become his reason to fight, his reason to survive. "Over here," she hissed, leading him through a hidden corridor lined with glowing vines that pulsed like veins. The corridor ended at a landing platform where a small ship hovered silently, waiting. Eli glanced back and saw chaos behind them. Guards shouted, running after them, but Liara raised her hand, forming a shimmering barrier that held the pursuers for a few precious moments. Eli grabbed her hand, his heart racing. "We're almost there," he said. Liara nodded, her lips trembling. "Hold on to me. No matter what happens, don't let go." He squeezed her hand, feeling her warmth through the glow. "Never," he whispered. They leapt into the ship just as the first wave of the council's enforcers reached the platform. Liara hit the controls and the ship lifted off, leaving the palace and its chaos behind. Inside the cabin, the hum of engines filled the silence. Liara slumped into the seat, breathing hard. Eli knelt beside her, examining the faint bruises along her arms from the barrier. "You risked everything for me," he said softly. She shook her head, tears forming in her glowing eyes. "I had to. You showed me. Humanity has courage. You've made me see things I never believed possible, and I cannot imagine letting them take you from me." Eli smiled faintly, pain and hope mingling together. "Then we're both learning, Princess. You've shown me what real beauty is. Not in power, not in crowns, but in hearts that care." Liara's hands trembled slightly as she reached for his face. "Then, maybe we can survive this storm together." The ship rose higher, breaking free of the city. Below them, the palace became a tiny speck, lost in a sea of light and chaos, and for the first time, both human and alien felt the truth in their hearts. No weapon, no counsel, no empire could ever touch the bond that had begun between them. It was stronger than fear, stronger than war, stronger than the galaxy itself. The stars outside stretched endlessly as the ship soared into the night. Eli sat beside Liara, both of them quiet for a moment, letting the hum of the engines fill the silence. His hands still ached from the restraints, his body bruised from the guards, but none of it mattered. What mattered was that they were alive, and together. Liara leaned back in her seat, glowing softly in the cabin light. Her hair floated gently around her shoulders, giving her an ethereal look, almost like she belonged to the stars themselves. Eli couldn't stop staring, and for the first time, he realized he wasn't looking at a princess or an alien ruler. He was looking at someone who had become important, someone who had changed him without even trying. "I never thought I'd do something like this," Liara said quietly, her voice trembling. "Leaving my palace, my people, everything I know. For a human soldier." Eli reached out, brushing his fingers gently over hers. "And yet here you are. That takes courage too, you know. Maybe even more than fighting an army." Her glowing eyes met his, filled with something he could not name. Fear, hope, and something warmer, deeper. "I don't know if I made the right choice," she whispered. He smiled faintly. "Sometimes the right choice isn't the one that feels safe. It's the one that feels real." Liara's hand found his and she squeezed it. "Then we survive together," she said softly. "No matter what comes," Eli nodded. "Together." The silence returned, but it was no longer heavy. It was filled with understanding, with the quiet thrill of defiance and with the bond that had grown stronger than words. For the first time, Eli realized he had hope, not just for survival, but for something more. Suddenly, the ship's sensors beeped urgently. A fleet of Xeran warships appeared on the radar, closing fast. Liara's hands moved instinctively over the controls, her glowing fingers dancing across the panel. "They followed us," she said, her voice tight with fear and determination. Eli stood moving beside her. "Can you outrun them?" Liara shook her head. "Not for long. But maybe. Maybe we don't have to outrun them. Maybe we have to show them something they've never seen before." Eli raised an eyebrow. "And what would that be?" Her eyes softened and she reached for his face. "Hope," she whispered. "Courage, humanity, and the choice to fight for what matters even when all odds are against you." He smiled. "Then let's give them a reason to believe." Liara nodded, and together they set the ship on a new course, weaving between asteroids and energy storms. The Xeran ships fired, streaks of energy cutting across the darkness, but she guided them through with precision and grace. Eli manned the defensive systems, blocking shots and protecting the ship, every move a testament to human determination and instinct. Hours passed, each moment stretching the tension to the limit. Their bodies were tired, their hearts pounding, but neither of them faltered. And in those hours, the quiet words they had shared, the stolen glances, and the courage they gave each other created something unbreakable. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the fleet fell behind, unable to match their combined skill and determination. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, unknown and full of possibility. Liara exhaled, leaning against the controls. We made it," she said softly, a hint of wonder in her voice. Eli looked at her, his chest swelling with emotion. "No," he said gently. "We survived together." She met his gaze, tears forming in her glowing eyes. "You risked your life for me," she whispered. "And you risked everything for me," he replied. "That's what makes us stronger than any army, any empire." For the first time, Both human and alien knew a truth deeper than fear, deeper than war. Some bonds could not be broken. Some hearts could not be controlled. Some choices made together could change the fate of worlds. Liara reached for his hand, and as the ship sailed into the uncharted stars, she whispered softly, "Then let us face the galaxy." Side by side, Eli smiled, squeezing her hand. Side by side, princess, always, and in that moment, the universe itself seemed to pause as if honoring the courage, hope, and love that had blossomed between them. The ship sailed through the endless darkness of space, stars stretching infinitely in every direction. Eli and Liara sat side by side in the cockpit, their hands still intertwined, hearts still racing from the storm they had survived. The Zyran fleet was behind them, lost in the distance, but the sense of danger still lingered. Liara looked at him, her glowing eyes soft and full of wonder. "I never thought I'd feel alive like this," she whispered. "Not as a princess, not as a ruler, but here, with you." Eli turned to her, brushing a faint strand of silver hair from her glowing face. "It's not the stars that make us alive, Liara," he said softly. "It's people who care, people who fight for each other when nothing else matters." She smiled faintly, leaning her head against his shoulder. "And you've shown me something I never knew existed. Courage, hope, and love," he smiled, squeezing her hand. "It's funny, isn't it? How a human and an alien can find each other in a galaxy that wants to tear them apart." She laughed softly, a sound like bells ringing in the void. "Maybe that's the point. Maybe the universe saves its greatest miracles for those who never expect them." Eli's heart swelled. He had fought countless battles, seen entire planets fall, and watched countless lives vanish. But in Liara's presence he felt stronger than any weapon, braver than any army. She was more than a princess, more than a ruler. She was hope made real. The stars outside shifted as the ship approached a hidden asteroid field, a place Liara had prepared long before. "We can hide here for a while," she said. "No one will find us, and we can plan what comes next." Eli nodded. "And then?" She took a deep breath, her glowing hand brushing his cheek. "Then, we show them all what it means to be human and what it means to care. Even in the darkest places there is light. Even in war there is hope. We can start again, together." Eli smiled faintly. "I like that idea." For hours they flew in silence, watching the twin suns rise on distant planets, the stars reflecting in Liara's eyes. Each moment was quiet, yet filled with unspoken emotion, the kind that grows stronger with every danger faced. Every fear conquered, every bond formed. Finally, Liara reached for the communication panel, her fingers glowing faintly as she sent a message to the scattered resistance fleet. "Tell them," she whispered, "that humanity has courage, that even one human can change the course of a galaxy." Eli watched her, awe and admiration filling his chest. "You're amazing," he said softly. "And not just because you're a princess, because you have a heart that won't give up." She smiled, leaning closer. "And you make me feel alive, not as a ruler but as myself." Eli reached for her hand, holding it firmly. "Then let's never give up. No matter what comes, no matter how dark it gets. Together we can survive anything." The ship soared past the asteroid field, disappearing into the vast unknown. Below, distant worlds awaited, full of possibilities and dangers. And above, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if recognizing the courage, the hope, and the bond that had been forged between human and alien. Liara rested her head on his shoulder again, her voice soft and full of wonder. "Maybe this is what it means to be alive," she whispered. Eli smiled, closing his eyes for a moment. "It is. Not because of the stars, not because of power, but because we care, we fight, and we love. That's what makes us human." And in that quiet moment, as the ship sailed through the endless galaxy, both human and alien knew the truth. No empire, no war, no fear could ever break the bond between hearts that refused to surrender. Hope had won, courage had won, humanity had won, and somewhere in the galaxy, a human soldier and an alien princess held hands, ready to face a universe that had never known such bravery, such love, and such light. The stars watched silently, as if bowing to their courage.